Hello and welcome to the Classic Corner, the podcast where we dive into the world of literature and share valuable tips and insights to enhance your reading experience. I'm your host, Karen, and in today's podcast episode, we'll be exploring the topic of reading classic books with ease. So whether you're a seasoned reader or just beginning to delve into the world of classics, I've got you covered with my top 10 strategies. So let's jump in. So a lot of people say, well, how do you eat an elephant? You just take one bite at a time. And maybe people think that's the same with any book, but I think with classics, there are certain things that you can do to make the experience a lot more digestible, to say that. So let's start with strategy number one. That is context. Familiarize yourself with the historical context. Classic books often transport us to different time periods, and so understanding that historical background really enriches our understanding of the story. So take a little bit of time before you jump in to research the era, the social and cultural aspects, what was going on, and any significant events that may have influenced the author. So for example, when I look at a book by Rudy Kipling, after I researched his life, then I could really see, okay, from his time in India, how it shaped maybe the Jungle Book and different things like that. So it's always great. And this is what I do with my kids too, whenever they're about to embark on a more difficult classic book, is to, okay, first I'm not just going to give it to them. Let's first talk about who wrote it. I want to get them excited about that and their life story a little bit, and where they lived, where they grew up, what happened during their lifetime. And then the book that they wrote, for example, G.A. Henty was really well known for this, how he wrote of different historical times. So then you explore that, what was happening during that time. And that's going to make it a lot more intriguing for them to read it. I just finished taking a class on just content writing in general, and you want that mystery, that intrigue, fascination. That's the word used, fascination. So you want to get a little bit fascinated with the topic, with the book, with the classic before you dive into it. That's really going to help. So strategy number 2 is to start with an annotated edition. So annotated versions of classics can really be a reader's best friend. They provide valuable footnotes, explanations, historical context, making it easier to navigate through unfamiliar references or some of the archaic language. So when you pick out your edition, keep in mind that different publishers, different editions, and so see which one could be more helpful to you. And strategy number 3 is to take it slow. I know we're in this age, and I know because I consume a lot of this booktube content and YouTubers, and they'll read straight for 24 hours. Or I'm trying to think of some of the other, replacing my screen time with book time, which I think that's pretty good actually. But we want to finish books fast and then, share about them. So with classics, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like a Colleen Hoover or a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. You're going to have to take it slow. Classic books are renowned for their depth and complexity. Don't rush through the text. Instead, savor each sentence and paragraph. I find that I really do that. Take the time to absorb the language, the themes, and the ideas presented. Allow yourself to fully immerse in the story. I really try to visualize that time period, see myself in it, just really experience it as if I'm there living it. So strategy number 4 is to make use of supplementary materials. So there are plenty of resources available. It's not like in the past where you'd have to go to the bookstore or library and try to find cliff notes. Now there's no shortage of information for you. YouTube videos, study guides, online resources, academic lectures. They can also provide valuable insights and analysis. Now, I would caution you because obviously you don't want spoilers. And that could be a little difficult. I've had some classic books. I think the Clothback Penguin books, some of them are like this, where I can't read whatever is in the introduction because they completely spoil it. I think they assume that maybe you've heard about it by now or seen a movie, but not all of us have. So that's something to keep in mind. Just kind of be careful as you're looking through and scrolling through things. Make sure that there's no spoilers. As soon as you see it go in that direction, click off or close it, look at something else. So just keep that in mind. Now, strategy number 5 is to join a book club or discussion group. That makes it a lot of fun. And I see these at my library. They have multiple ones, and I have a book club as well on Amazon. It's called the Classic Corner, just like this podcast. It's public, it's open to anyone. Right now we're reading Les Miserables. Sorry if I don't say that right. I want to say it in Spanish. So it's more fun when you do it with other people reading the same book, right? So engaging in conversations about the book with others can offer fresh perspectives and interpretations. I love that a couple of my friends and I, we have just this text thread, and we like a lot of the same authors, and we read a lot of the same books, sometimes at the same time, or somebody reads it and then waiting on the other people to read it, and just hearing their excitement about maybe a sequel that they're in, or how satisfying it is them to get to that part that you've already read the twist, and then seeing their take, their perspective. And sometimes we do have little not disagreements, but we see things differently. The endings, especially like open-ended books that kind of leave it up to your interpretation. It's funny how some people have one idea and some people have the other. My mom and I like to get books that have a Spanish counterpart so that she can read it and then we can discuss it. So that's been really fun. And it's hilarious how, because she's from a different background, different generation, it's really funny to see her take on it versus my friends in my generation, my age group. It's sometimes very different. So all that to say, book clubs, friends that read books as well, it's a lot of fun. So it's an excellent way to enhance your understanding of a book too, and enjoy a collective reading experience. So strategy number 6 is to set reading goals. And I know goal setting, especially when it comes to books, this is supposed to be fun and it's your hobby, right? And you don't want to structure it or create goals. But I will say that if you have a goal to finish a book, you more likely will. Classic books can be quite lengthy, and the sheer volume may seem daunting. So break the book down into manageable chunks and set goals for yourself. This helps you stay motivated and focused as you progress through the story. Now, this is something that I do for my kids, but it also works really well for yourself, for adults, and that is to use little sticky tabs and think about what is a manageable chunk that you can read each day. Maybe it's just 2-3 pages. Maybe it's a chapter. It really just depends on the book. So put a sticky note. Let's say you decided 1 chapter a day. And if I decided to read my current book right now, Les Mis, 1 chapter a day, it would take a year because it's 365 chapters. But, that is manageable. I know I could do that. And then all you have to do each reading session is just make it to the end of that sticky note. And it's very satisfying once you get to the end of that sticky note to pull the sticky note off. And then the next day you pick up there and keep reading until the next sticky note. And as you read more and more, you get fewer and fewer sticky notes. And believe it or not, it is very motivating to go about it that way. And then strategy number 7 is keeping a reading journal, taking notes, highlighting meaningful passages, jot down your thoughts as you read them. Maintaining a reading journal helps you actively engage with the text and ensures that you remember key details or insights. It also serves as a valuable resource for future reference. So if you don't like the idea of writing in your books, if you read books on a Kindle too, you can use something called Readwise. It's an app that I absolutely love and I use it every day, and it highlights things for you. You can also write notes for it. But what I love is that every day I get a reminder, an email or a notification on an app with 5 random quotes. So every time I highlight something in a book, it goes into this database, and then every day I get 5 random quotes. And there are things that make such an impression on me in the moment. And it could be fiction, nonfiction. It could be a quote, a literary quote, or it could be something from a nonfiction book that's extremely helpful. But I will forget. I will just forget. That's just the nature of the beast. So when I get this daily email so many times, I'm like, oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. I forgot about that. Or yeah, I forgot that quote is amazing. Or this is so true. I need to remember this. And you can also attach it to your Notion and have it there as a database. And you can look at every book if you want to look at the quotes just from a certain book, or again, if you want that random aspect to it. But you have to take the notes. You have to highlight. You have to actively engage with the text. You can write in it. Again, if you don't like writing, you could use an app like that. And even if it's Readwise, like it's not a Kindle book, you can take a picture with your phone and it extracts the text. So again, you're not writing in your book. But my favorite thing to do is use Readwise, but also annotate using those cute little minimal sticky tabs, right? And you can put it so that only a tiny bit of it peeks out of the book. But I like to highlight different quotes, different things that stood out to me. And I like to get those packs that have different colors of sticky tabs, and maybe I'll use one color for each character. So for example, in Gone with the Wind, everything that was Ellen, I had it color coordinated a certain color. Everything that was Melanie was color coded. Same thing with Scarlet. So that really helped me to stay actively engaged with the text, especially as the book gets longer. And it also makes it very easy, like I said, to reference, to go back and say, I really need a Scarlet quote today. I really need an Ellen quote. I know exactly where to turn to. So that really does make you more active, engage. It's just no better way to say it. You are not making this passive. You're not just reading and like, oh, what was I reading? And then you have to go back. Like you're looking for things to highlight. You're looking for things that resonate with you. And so in turn, you get much more out of the text. And let's see, where are we at? Yes, strategy number 8 is to read aloud or listen to an audiobook. So if you find the language or prose very challenging, consider reading out loud or listening to an audiobook. Hearing the words spoken can improve comprehension and make the text more accessible. This approach allows you to appreciate the rhythm and the flow of the language. Now, one book that I recently did this with was Frankenstein. That book, I don't know, it just was a little bit challenging for me to read it at the time. I guess I really wasn't in the mood to, but I had set it as a goal for myself to read it. And I'm really glad I also bought the audio version because the narration was just spectacular. I mean, the voice, whoever did it, it just had you at the edge of your seat. Whereas the book, reading the book, didn't necessarily have me feeling that way. But they did such a great job with the audio book. So that's something very helpful you can do. I know with my kids, if they get to a book that's really challenging, I don't let them listen to the whole book as an audiobook. I think that's a reward you get to unlock as an adult. But when you're still practicing and you're still reading, then what I like to do is just have them listen to maybe 1 or 2 chapters, or maybe they read 3 and then they listen to the 4th. You know, it kind of creates some motivation and incentive there. But just them listening to a chapter has a lot of benefits because, again, they're listening for the rhythm and the flow of the language and how certain words are pronounced and just getting a feel for it. And then it seems a lot easier for them to read the next few chapters on their own. So it really does work. Okay, strategy number 9 is embrace a dictionary. Classic literature often contains words that are no longer in common usage or have evolved in meaning. So keep a dictionary handy to look up unfamiliar words and expand your vocabulary along the way. Now, of course, today we have our phones, and so you can look up anything. But, you know, as soon as you pick up your phone, you have the possibility of getting distracted again. So a dictionary is it still works. It's classic, and no notifications, no emails are in there. So that's really nice. And if you have a Kindle, the feature that you can look up words, that's extremely helpful. I'm sure that's helpful for kids as well. I will say too that, you know, I don't favor Kindles, and that's a whole other topic video for another day, for really young readers, because you do make a lot of micro decisions, even on a Kindle, even on an e-reader that doesn't have any other apps or notifications or games on it, but still your brain is making all of these little micro decisions. Like, should I enlarge the text? Is it big enough? Should I make it smaller? Should I highlight this, not highlight this? Should I look up this word, not look up this word? Your brain is constantly making these little micro decisions, and it can impact the reading comprehension for young readers. That's the research that I've seen. But once they're really strong, fluent readers. Of course, for adults, this doesn't seem to be an issue. Then it's no big deal. And I read on my Kindle pretty much every day. So don't get me wrong, I love my Kindle. But I know some parents think, oh, I'll give this to my younger kids and that's helpful with the dictionary. Just be cautious at what age you introduce that, because when they're still not, they don't have a lot of practice yet, and especially maybe with classics, there's still a lot of distractions, even in a shell of an e-reader. But again, that's a podcast for another day. And then finally, strategy number 10 is don't be afraid to seek help. If you're truly struggling to understand a classic book, remember that there are experts and resources available to assist you. It's not cheating. Teachers, librarians, literary enthusiasts can offer valuable insights and guidance. So never hesitate to reach out for assistance. And people who love books, they love talking about books too. So it's never a bother to ask them, help me out with this, or why do you like this book? Tell me about it. I'm sure they'll be happy to talk to you about it. But of course, there's also no shortage of information on the web. So those are 10 tips to how to help you tackle a classic a little easier, right? By implementing these strategies, you'll be able to navigate the world of classic literature with confidence and enjoyment. Remember, reading classics is an enriching journey, and so I encourage you to pick one up if you haven't already. All right, I will see you, or you'll hear me in the next podcast episode. Talk to you soon. Bye.